My name's Etienne Hightower, and I am with TruckerDown.org. For those, we're a new organization. We started in February or January of last year. We got our IRS approval, and we started giving money out last year to drivers in need. Give you a little idea what we do is when a driver gets hurt or gets sick and can't work anymore, everybody in this room knows if they can't work, they're not making money. There's not a residual income. If the wheels aren't moving, they're not making money. So though medical insurance will help them with their medical bills, who's got to help them pay their mortgage or put food on the table or put diapers on their baby or pay their car? That's where we come in. At TruckerDown.org, we supply them immediate assistance as quick as we can. Hopefully we get to them in a week's time of them filling out an application. We try to get the check out to them so that they can put food on their table. And we understand this is a Band-Aid. This isn't going to solve everybody's problems. This is something that is just a Band-Aid. Give the family an opportunity to breathe a little bit, breathe a little easier, gives them a little bit of time to maybe go to the local church, work a deal out with their current employer, find other avenues of support. And we're here to provide as much support as we can. Once you become part of our family, we want you always to be part of our family. If we were fortunate to get big corporate sponsors and there's an opportunity for us to come back to you and give you more money, we're happy to do that. But so far, we've been self-funded. I funded this thing last year all by myself for the first year, and we were able to help 30 families in need. And we're even fortunate enough to put one guy through trucker school, get the CDL, give somebody a scholarship, give them a CDL, give them an opportunity to enter into this workforce. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and maybe that'll understand why I do what I do. I was in law enforcement for 20 years. I was a state trooper in South Carolina for 5 years. And then I became a federal agent, and I worked for the Department of Defense around the world. And one day I just woke up, and I said, I'm burned out. Law enforcement was getting rough. I won't say it was getting rough, but it was time for me to get out of the industry. Like mentally, I was just exhausted. So I quit my job, and while I was sitting, I have a 14-year-old son now, but back in 2018, he was like 8 years old. He was playing basketball. And a gentleman came in with a fluorescent jacket on, a rain jacket, and I didn't know. I said, hey, what are you wearing that for? And he told me he was a truck driver. And I asked him, I said, hey, if I bought a truck, would you come drive it for me? That's how I got into trucking. He said he would. I bought a truck. Now I said, now what do we do? He said, well, we got to do factoring. I said, what is that? What is factoring? But I got in, I went and got my DOT, I learned how to do that, my MC number. I got a factoring company, I had a driver, I got on load boards. I did all that stuff with this guy, and as I did it, I found this great community. This is a community of underrepresented people. People that and I worked with the military, I worked with soldiers, I worked with some really top level people. They were great people. But I always say, and that's my partner over there, Bonnie, she's a big supporter. I always say that trucking is the engine of the economy and drivers are the key. So I'm sure you guys all I hope you guys agree with that. And in 2020, when there was no toilet paper on the shelves in the grocery stores, all these people were like, well, what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, it's the dang truckers. That's who provides you the fuel. That's who builds your house, builds the roads, builds 95% of everything you see was on a truck at one point. But then I said, I want to tell you a story. That's my background. I do have a company called Believers Trucking. I have 30 trucks now in 5 years, and we're doing good. So because I had that opportunity to do good, I wanted to give back to the community that was being so good to me. And I'll tell you, I had a driver, his name was Tyree, who came work for me, all right? And I'm sure some of you guys can relate, and I know that many of you guys know the situation as I go through them that you'll be able to reflect back on and know why I'm doing what I'm doing. But Tyree came to me and he applied for a job. I gave him a job. Seemed like a great young man. I had no idea that this young man lost his job. He's 31 years old, lost the job for whatever reason, and had a 7-year-old son. And he was living in his car when he came to work for me. I didn't know about that. I just gave him the job and paid him. Found out he's living in his car with a 7-year-old son. And I said, hey, we got to do better than this. So I helped him get into an apartment, right? So I don't want my driver living in the street with a 7-year-old kid, regardless if the 7-year-old kid was there or not. But that was part of the motivating factor for me to get out there and help somebody. We get him in an apartment, and this is during COVID. Find out his son has asthma. So what happens? His son gets COVID. He spends a month in Duke Hospital. The driver is worried I'm going to fire him. I'm going to get rid of him. And listen, at that time, I wasn't able to offer my employees health care. So I know he's under a tremendous amount of stress. And I said, hey, dude, don't you worry. We're going to pay you. We're going to pay you. Just go be with your son. He goes in the hospital for 30 days, and thank God, the young boy gets healthy. He's fine. Amen to that, right? So the driver comes back to me, 31 years old, single father, son was in the hospital for 30 days. And I don't mean to laugh, but I'm thinking about all the stress that this individual was on this individual, right? 31 years old, he has a heart attack while he's driving for me. He's out on the road, so we end up having to get the ambulance over to him, and he ends up in the hospital, and now we're trying to take care of his son. And then he's looking at me like, oh, you got to fire me now. You got to fire me. You got to get rid of me because I haven't worked for you, and I feel like truckers, what I've learned, you guys are a very hard-headed, proud bunch. None of you guys want to accept help. And we got to change that a little bit, guys. We got to be willing to help each other, and we got to be able to accept help. And you guys got to be like, my partner Bonnie and I have been sitting on the other side just accepting donations. And it's been fantastic to see all the people come by and give $5, give $10. We even had one guy give $100 to help other truckers. So understand that each of you care about each other, even if you don't know each other. And I'm going to talk about this gentleman here in the front row in a minute, because he's part of another organization that I think you guys should know about. But going back to Tyree, I didn't get rid of him. I kept him on. I realized I had a problem, that there's a problem in this industry so that drivers can find support for themselves and their families to deal with these situations, putting food on the table, diapers. So we came up with Trucker Down, and I will tell you, I stole that Trucker Down. I was a trooper, and they had an organization, Trooper Down. So that's where that name came from, and it's the same thing, but I think it's really important for this community. So Tyree came, and he ended up working for me. I ended up putting him as my first employee as Trucker Down, just so I could find a way to pay him money and make it legitimate, all right? I ended up carrying him for maybe 6 months. He clearly lost his medical card because of his heart attack, but he ended up getting it back. He ended up getting healthy because the stress was reduced. He knew he was getting a paycheck. His son was taken care of. His son had Christmas gifts. He didn't have to worry about that. He ended up going to work for the Postal Service as a driver. So after we were able to help that young man do all that, I said, hey, we got to do this nationwide. So that's why we started Trucker Down, and we ended up with 30 families that we helped. And I mean, I could tell you story after story about, we help families. So say some of these companies leave you on the side of the road. I know it never happens, but let's just imagine you got stranded somewhere and your company's not going to help you get home. Contact us. We'll get you a bus ticket. We'll give you some money for food. We're going to get you taken care of. Um, we have, unfortunately, fatalities where, well, I'll tell you about one gentleman. One gentleman went to work for a NASCAR company, and on his first day, his first trip, he was going through Texas. Car stopped short. He tried to stop the vehicle. Rear ends him. Cab catches on fire. He's killed. His son's dream was to drive a race car. Just drive any race car. That was his dream. I'm from North Carolina, home of NASCAR. Come on, that's a kid's dream. Bonnie found this. The way we were finding people was going through the news. It was a news article. Bonnie found it, and we were able to provide this kid a sponsorship to race, I forget what it's called, midget cars. So he was 16 years old, and we got him on the track. And that kid didn't have any sunshine in his life, but because of other truckers supporting us, we were able to support him to do his dream. So I want to say that's where our heart is. That's where our focus is just helping individuals. I want to talk about this gentleman real quick because he is part of 10-4 DC, correct? And 10-4 DC is another community that you guys can tap into, which supports nonprofits but supports truck drivers. So it gives you guys a voice in DC. A lot of times, we all have opinions, right? And sometimes you don't feel like your opinion's being heard. That's where 10-4 DC comes in, where you can go to DC, you can meet with other truckers, you can gather a voice, you can try to talk to legislators, and you can find additional support for your needs. So please go to 10-4 DC. The gentleman's right up here if you want to talk to him. And guys, we are here collecting donations. Surprise, right? So here's my pitch. Bonnie has these what do you call them, postcards? And our goal is this year to help 155 people. Last year, like I said, we were totally self-funded. This is our first event since we started to actually ask donations. I'm a little stubborn myself, and I thought I could solve the world's problems by myself, and I can't do it. So please take a look at this postcard that Bonnie has. You can do a little QR code. You can donate to us. Please go and check us out on the website. Please follow us on Facebook or Instagram. That's it. So does anybody have any questions about our organization? I'm losing people. Sorry. No, you stay here. Come on, man. More important here. Does anybody have a question or a comment that they want to ask about Trucker Down? And if you need help, please let us know now so when we get back to Wake Forest, North Carolina, we can get you the help you need. Nothing? Okay. Bonnie, do you have anything to say? There she is.
Wilmington. It's a beautiful place to come. Yes, the beach in North Carolina, and May will be a perfect time to do so. And this will just be a fancy dinner for everybody to get together, have some entertainment, have a good time, and raise money for a good cause. And silent auction as well. So we encourage you to take a look at that and maybe come on out to the dinner, or maybe send some money to sponsor the event, or as I said, mention it to your employer to let them know that they can sponsor us to do what's right for drivers.
It's funny, she was talking and I had an idea and then it just, oh, this is something else I wanted to tell people. And I appreciate you guys staying and listening. We're in North Carolina, and a lot of times it's so much nicer if a trucker can deal with a trucker when we give them help. So if there's an opportunity for you guys to just send us a message, send us an email, and tell us you'd be willing to be a delivery person for us, or what we call ambassadors, so that we can say, this gentleman here who has the other charity, I'm sure I could call him and I could say, hey, we have somebody in your area that needs this help. Bonnie puts a box together of all of our swag and the money, and we would send it to this gentleman, and then he would deliver it to the house and take some pictures for us and do things like that. It's a lot of times, man, and you guys know you're truckers, you just want somebody to listen to you, and I think that's what his comment was, a trucker to a trucker. He'll sit there and listen to we've had guys go, they drive 4 hours to give money, they stay with this family for 4 to 6 hours, but they become a lifelong friend because of the work that they're doing together. Just build your own network by helping us to get the word out. So please, if you can go to our website, just send us a, hey, I'd be interested in helping out, and we'll get back to you on that. And yes, ma'am. So her question was, how much of the donation goes to the trucker? It's 100% goes, we give everything to the trucker. Everything else I've paid for, like I said, first year was all on me. Every dime I get, it goes right back out to helping truck drivers. So there's no, any of that bad stuff. So thank you.
We're all volunteers, so anybody on payroll?
Yeah, I have no payroll for this. Everybody volunteers their time. And what's funny is we've had no problem finding volunteers. So I do want to ask this gentleman to tell you guys a little bit more about his organization, because to me, collaborating amongst all of us is what it's got to make us all stronger. So here you go.
Hi, I'm Fred Bowerman. I'm not a trucker. My dad was a trucker, and he was killed behind the wheel in 1973. I saved a truck because, his example made me a trucker, I guess, at heart. I got involved in trying to help drivers because they started imposing electronic logging mandate on drivers, and drivers felt like that was being pushed down their throat. And my dad died from a sleep-related accident, and that, to me, is like, how can you make a guy drive by a clock? You have to let the driver be in control. So my friend got me involved, and I started helping. And what we ended up doing through all this is we created this organization called 10-4-DC. And what we do is we take drivers into the National Mall, where you display your trucks in front of the Capitol building, between the Washington Monument and the Capitol building, between the Smithsonian's. As far as we know, we're the only group in history that has been allowed to display like that and we feel that's an honor for the drivers to raise them up for their service and sacrifice. And in turn, they also get the benefit that they're there with all the lawmakers. So if there's people that want to advocate, they can go advocate. If there's people that just want to sightsee, that's what they do. It's the best way to see DC if you're a trucker, I guarantee it. But the main thing that we do as 10-4-DC is we build unity, and the people that come become family, and then they are looking out for each other on the road. So-and-so's broke down, so I go out of my way to go try to help them. That's what we're building. And anybody that comes to 10-4, that's what they'll tell you. That's what it's about. It's about building the relationships in the trucking community. And we also are a 501c3. We are, nobody takes any money. We all do this out of the goodness of our hearts. You know what I mean? It was formed by drivers, for drivers. I'm the only person on our board that's not a driver. And We struggle to raise money because we're not professionals. We don't know all the right avenues. This is only our 3rd year of being an official 501c3, but we hold an event on the National Mall. We don't try to advocate because as a 501c3, we don't advocate. You got to be a neutral party for everyone. But what we do is just try to provide a platform for drivers that can educate them. And so we want to add more subject matter experts to talk about things that are driver issues that drivers want to know more about, or maybe it will help educate the public. And that's basically what our event is all set around, so people can talk to drivers one-on-one and try to improve that relationship instead of the one on the road where they're just in my way, you know. And so that's a little bit about me, and I wasn't ready for this, so that's just off the cuff. So, but 104dc.org if you want to help us out and support us. We support charities like this. This is what we do the event to try to bring people like this that are doing things for truck drivers together, so that the truck drivers start knowing who these guys are. And I think a lot of people know about Truckers Final Mile, which does something very similar to this, but mainly for deceased truck drivers. And you know, we want to bring all those types of groups together, because if we can make the driver pool stronger, then we can make trucking stronger, you know. And it all starts with a little compassion, I guess. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. So mine's off the cuff too. So I had no idea what I was going to say, and this nice lady here was next to me, and I was all nervous about coming and talking to you guys today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do think his organization is pretty cool, because being on the mall gives truckers center stage where they belong. I mean, there's war memorials, there's law enforcement memorials, there's memorials for everything, and to have the trucks right in the middle of them is a great salute to the truck drivers out there. So thank you guys. Again, truckerdown.org. Please send us any questions, concerns, or an offer to help us. But thank you so much for your time this afternoon.